An egregore is a concept in Western esotericism referring to a non-physical entity or thought form that arises from the collective thoughts and emotions of a distinct group of individuals. Mark Stavish, the author of Egregores, the occult entities that watch over human destiny, provides a second definition, an older, more significant, and perhaps frightening one. An egregore is more than an autonomous entity composed of and influencing the thoughts of a group of people. It is also the home or conduit for a specific psychic intelligence of a non-human nature connecting the invisible dimensions with the material world in which we live. This, in fact, is the true source of power of the ancient cults and their religious magical practices. Welcome to Occult Studies. If you enjoy the video, please leave a like and subscribe to this channel. In an interview with New Dawn magazine, Stavish and the editor explained, egregores are also created organically when people who are not necessarily connected in a formal group focus on the same ideal or image, like entertainment characters that go viral and become icons. Spiritual, occult, religious, political, and other groups with specific aims create egregores using symbols and rituals to focus and draw upon the energy of individual members, believers, fans, participants to fuel it. Their energy helps to sustain the psychic entity, and the psychic entity then influences the individual in some way through this connection. Humans create egregores, which exist on 3 levels: material, astral, and celestial. Materially, they link to symbols, icons, and ritual objects. We see these symbols everywhere, like arrows, Coca-Cola logos, and the Christian cross. Each symbol has an egregore on the astral plane, thriving on the emotions and thoughts of people who connect with it. On the celestial level, egregores are tied to cosmic principles like deities, archetypes, or abstract ideas such as beauty, harmony, or war. For example, fashion shows in Paris or Italy connect to the ideals of Venus, representing beauty and harmony. Football teams' egregores relate to Mars, symbolizing competition. These entities have their own agendas, which we can't control or fully understand. Instead of trying to control them, it's better to develop a careful relationship with them, knowing it will be tricky. Stavish warned us, trying to control an egregore is risky, because if your goals don't align with theirs, you'll lose. Joscelyn Godwin, a scholar from Colgate University in New York, delves into the concept of the power of the egregore in his book, The Golden Thread. Godwin traces the origins of egregores in the West to the semi-animistic beliefs of ancient Greece and Rome, where religious practices deeply influenced daily life and politics. He emphasizes that in these societies, every aspect of life had a sacred component, and proper execution of duties was believed to keep the visible and invisible worlds in harmony. The priestly class in ancient Greece and Rome specialized in rituals and sacrifices, which were seen as crucial for the well-being of the family, community, and empire. Individuals lived according to the god's will. Godwin writes, there is an occult concept of the egregore, a term derived from the Greek word for watcher. It is used for an immaterial entity that watches or presides over some earthly affair or collectivity. The important point is that an egregore is augmented by human belief, ritual, and especially by sacrifice. If it is sufficiently nourished by such energies, The egregore can take on a life of its own and appear to be an independent, personal divinity, with a limited power on behalf of its devotees and an unlimited appetite for further devotion. It is then believed to be an immortal god or goddess, an angel, or a daemon. Egregores were created to protect city-states, the republic, and the empire. As long as people offered devotion and sacrifices, the city or empire was believed to thrive. However, if worship shifted to new cults, the egregore's support would wane, leading to decline. Godwin suggests this shift in worship contributed to the fall of the Roman Empire. As Romans embraced new religions, offering personal salvation and afterlife, the energy supporting the traditional gods and egregores faded. The spiritual shift weakened Rome, as the old gods were no longer sustained, leading to the empire's downfall. As Godwin says, I am suggesting that the rise and fall of nations is intimately bound up with their relations with their gods, and that these are real entities, even though they are not the eternal, all-powerful beings they are reputed to be. This seems to be a theory worthy of consideration by anyone who can admit that the universe is a very strange place, and that there is plenty of room in it for beings bigger than mankind. If such beings exist, it is only prudent to take an account of them. Every civilization in the past has done so after its fashion. But how exactly is an egregore created? The Polish theosophist and Martinist Munisadhu explains this in detail in his book, The Tarot. Imagine that an intelligent and well-disposed man who is able to concentrate is thinking about a good idea, giving it a certain form. He may then find others who have the same or similar ideas, and so a circle of men may come into being, who are all thinking along the same lines, but in a different form. It is as if every one of them is repeating the drawing of a plan, placing a pencil again and again on the same contours. The thing grows in strength, develops an astrosome, and becomes an egregore, or collective entity. Such an egregore, like each astrosome, defends, heals, and even resuscitates the physical bodies of its members, rousing them to activities and the realization of the principal idea incorporated in the egregore. So, for example, an egregore of a benevolent society may urge its physical members to engage in more activities and work, and attract new members. Egregores belonging to organizations and nations, which are inimical to one another, are able to fight on the astral plane, while their human beings fight on the physical plane. If, on the physical plane, enemies destroy the bodies of members of a particular egregore, their astrosomes fortify the egregore on the astral plane, while their human beings fight in the physical world. Recall the persecution of Christians by the Jews and pagans in the early days of the new religion. The former won the fight because they were stronger on the astral plane. That is why the Church, at that time, said that the blood of martyrs is the best seed for new Christians. Egregores can attach themselves to physical places to help ensure they continue to exist. These places or objects, like relics, become special and are connected to the earth and the experiences of the person who set them up. This usually happens naturally, not just through rituals or creating items for ceremonies. There's a kind of grace involved. According to Sadhu, very advanced elementars, adepts connected with powerful egregores, usually religious ones, sometimes leave certain centers on the planet through which the egregoric forces may act. Such are the graves of some saints, or genuine advanced yogis, or other spots like Lourdes, the Holy Sepulchre, and some less well-known places, often accessible only to initiates. Some advanced spiritual practitioners perform certain actions in the astral realm to strengthen an existing egregore or create a new one. These processes depend heavily on the emotional or astral strength of the adept. The actions of ceremonial magic don't just involve entities from two planes, but can also affect living people. Under the right conditions, it's possible to summon and control the psychic body of a living person or the egregore of a group with living members to do various tasks. However, you don't have to be an official member of an egregore to be affected by it. Sadhu explains that sympathetic souls can be attracted to an egregore to drain their emotional and physical energies. This is often seen in sporting events, political campaigns, and various forms of media manipulation. Valentin Tomberg, an Estonian-Russian Christian mystic, wrote a well-known book titled Meditations on the Tarot, A Journey into Christian Hermeticism. In the book, Tomberg's discussion of egregores is primarily connected to the tarot card called the Devil. According to Tomberg, the 15th arcanum symbolizes the psychic and magical creations of all egregores. He views all egregores as demonic because they stem from human desires and cause people to become enslaved to false gods or ideals. In order to engender a psychic or astral entity, it is necessary that the psychic and mental energy you produce coagulates, that is, enfold. A form is not produced by radiation. It is produced only by coagulation or enfoldment. Good only radiates. It does not enfold. It is always evil that does this. You cannot ungender an egregore of universal love, because the quality of will and imagination required for this is not held together as a formation centered in itself. Instead, it forms an alliance, one of radiating movement, with the activity of the world of spiritual hierarchies. The psychic and mental energy of love would never give rise to the formation of an individual psychic or astral entity. It would immediately and wholly put itself at the disposal of the celestial hierarchies, saints, and God. Therefore, although one can certainly engender demons, one cannot engender artificial angels. For Tomberg, an egregore is a collective demon, with prime examples in the 20th century being the political movements of National Socialism and Communism. The specter of communism has grown, engendered by the will of the masses, born of despair following the Industrial Revolution in Europe, nourished by the resentment accumulated among the masses through generations, and armed with a misconstrued version of Hegel's dialectic. This specter has grown and continues to make the rounds in Europe and other continents. Today, already 1/3 of mankind is compelled to bow down before this God and obey it in everything. For Marxism, there is no God or gods. There are only demons in the sense of creations of human will and imagination. This is the fundamental Marxist doctrine of the so-called ideological superstructure. According to this doctrine, it is economic interest, that is, the will, that creates or imagines ideologies, religious, philosophical, social, and political. For Marxism, all religions are, therefore, only such ideological superstructures, which means formations due to human will and imagination. Marxism-Leninism itself is merely an ideological superstructure, a product of intellectual imagination, based on the will having arranged or rearranged social, political, and cultural matters in a certain manner. This method of producing ideological superstructures based on will is precisely what we understand as the collective generation of a demon or an egregore. Tomberg asserts that there is a distinct difference between the mystical body of Christ or the church triumphant and the egregore of the church in the political realm. If there are egregores of initiation orders and religious and other communities, they are always negative. For example, the egregore of Catholicism is its parasitic double, the existence of which it would be futile to deny, manifesting as fanaticism, cruelty, diplomatic wisdom, and excessive pretensions. However, when it comes to the positive spirits of communities, they are never egregores, but rather entities from the 10 hierarchies. 10, because the 10th hierarchy, that of mankind, is included. Therefore, it is a human soul, an angel, or an archangel who takes on the responsibility for guiding a human community in a positive direction. Thus, it is not an egregore, but Saint Francis himself, who serves as the spiritual director of the Franciscan order. Similarly, for the Church, its guiding spirit is Jesus Christ. Tomberg concludes, "No, there is the Word, and there are egregores before whom humanity bows down. There is revelation of divine truth and the manifestations of the will of human beings. There is the cult of God, and that of idols made by man. The Word and idols operate simultaneously in the history of the human race. The egregore is fundamentally evil because it is a creation of humanity, whereas the Christian faith, which Tomberg specifically means as the Roman Catholic Church, is good because it is established by God through Christ. Although egregores may seem powerful, they are not immortal. In other words, their existence is limited, and they can even be destroyed. Mark Stavish suggests, to free ourselves from the influence of an egregore, we need to limit our connection and contact with the members, rituals, symbols, and activities of the egregore and its material anchors to the group. This may be a simple matter. In some cases, we stop paying dues, attending meetings, or reading the organizational literature. Organizations, such as social and business clubs, will have a weaker group mind than a religion. An organization that we join as an adult will also generally have a weaker pull on us than one that we join in our childhood or teenage years. However, each individual enters into various relationships out of personal needs. Each must also find their own reasons for staying, modifying, or leaving various associations. Robert Ambelin, a French essayist and Martinist, believes egregores are energized through rituals, so only human groups can create them. If the members die and their rituals and symbols are destroyed, the egregore will quickly fade away. Without these material supports and the emotional energy they provide, the egregore will wither and die. Burning the items is necessary to avoid shedding blood, which holds occult power, especially if done ritualistically. Leaving an egregore by choice or through excommunication can cause a strong backlash, so Ambelin suggests seeking temporary refuge in an equivalent but opposite power. Just as physical groups exist because of their members, egregores exist because of the entities they attract on the astral plane. The rituals and sacrifices performed by their followers give egregores their power. Since egregores operate on 3 levels, material, astral, and celestial. Any disruption in performing rituals will weaken the egregore's vitality on all three levels. Valentin Tomberg suggests that to protect oneself from artificial demons or egregores, one should make the sign of the cross to the north, south, east, and west, and recite the first verse of the Psalm 68. Let God arise. Let his enemies be scattered. Let them also that hate him flee before him. As smoke is driven away, so drive them away. As wax melteth before the fire, so let the wicked perish at the presence of God. Additionally, one should spin 3 times to the left and make the sign of the cross. Although spinning might seem silly or childish, it is meant to symbolically break the negative connections the egregores have with you, similar to how one would turn quickly to avoid being touched. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel.